All righty, let's get going on Monday, a tax day for nonprofits. Monday, November 16th, 2020, 9:04. Hi, I'm Tom Trento, your host. I'll tell you about my co-host next to me here in a moment, but I'd like to thank Steve Kane, Brian Craig for delivering a fabulous audience to us every single morning. They get up so very early, at least Brian does. So very, very early in the morning to get all the stuff done, roll out everything, get the audience ready for us, and delivers us a wonderful, fabulous WNN 1470 AM 95.3 audience. We want all of you joining us to tell your friends to listen in 9 o'clock, where we make America think again. And I think we're going to have to do a lot of thinking in the future, depending on which way things go for us. But a fabulous show today. We're going to tell you about the two-person march in Washington, D.C., according to CNN LOL. The two-person march, two people marching.
What a crowd.
What a crowd. Two of them today in Washington,
I thought it was
D.C.
just one, Tom. I thought it was one.
It was two people, and then they beat up about 50 Antifa people, those nasty two people, Trump people. But we also had something close to home in Delray Beach, Florida. Fabulous rally. We'll tell you about that in a little while with Stone Cold Truth, Roger Stone. We're going to look at Sidney Powell, who is carrying the ball. It's like she was tossed the ball in her own end zone, has to run 100 yards to score with no time left on the clock. Can she crack and do it? We're going to find out about that. And the Epic Times, phenomenal conservative publication. We're going to look at that, give us an overview of what's going on. And then I have some breaking news from Nevada via Israel. Really? I got a call from folks in Israel about Nevada, and I was on the phone all weekend with lawyers in Nevada. They're filing a lawsuit. We're the first media outlet that knows this. We're going to try to get the attorney on this morning. If not, we'll have him on tomorrow. Filing a lawsuit today, fascinating lawsuit that is calling for the the revote of Clark County, the main county in Nevada, based upon constitutional violations. So we got a busy show today, and also Georgia. We're going to start focusing in on Georgia. We're going to take our operation, our successful United West, Jexit, Christian on a Mission, Women Impacting the Nation, Latinos, Blacks, our whole conglomerate that delivered a win in this state. We won our battle here. We're going to take that on the road to Georgia. You're going to hear about that. But first, let me introduce my co-host who gave me a cold.
I didn't give it to you. Nasally, it wasn't my cold. You have a different cold.
It was your cold. You were there. Don't breathe over this way.
I didn't cough.
I was sick all weekend. I had to cancel things, and I'm struggling to do the show. But I'm really a baby when I get sick.
I noticed.
Yes, he is. I'll second that.
Hey, I took it like a man.
I want chicken noodle soup and just rub my hair.
Tom, go put your big panties on.
No, you definitely have a different cold. Mine was different.
Oh, it's different.
Mine, no, it was different. Yeah, all I had was fever, and I had the blahs.
No fever, no Wuhan, regular cold,
no Wuhan,
regular cold, and but it's your fault.
All right, I take full responsibility. Take two Tylenol.
Go over here and sneeze and cough a little bit. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. What I find really interesting, what you said in your opening, is that we have to find our news from Israel, and that's what's going to give us the current news, that we can't trust the media today, and there isn't anybody within mainstream media that will give us information. We have to listen to Israel news or foreign news, and then we'll find out what's going on here. Yeah, that's a little scary.
It was actually a source in Israel
who
was friends with somebody in the United States, who was friends with the people in Nevada. And I'll tell you the story in a little bit when we get to that.
Oh, okay.
What do I hear? I hear talking.
It's coming from your phone.
Yes, it is. Okay. All right, so what are we doing? You ready?
Yeah, this is going to be a great show. We have a lot of information. I can't wait to hear about this, the news breaking info.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. The two-person march in Washington was simply amazing.
It looked packed to me. It looked like they wanted 1 million people. That was their goal. It was the Million March. And it certainly, I mean, if you had to kind of take a square mile and say, okay, well, how many people? It certainly looked like over 1 million
There's
people.
a lot of people. I mean, and again, Tom Trento here, 909. If you listen to the traditional media, the fake news media, really fake news is the best moniker for these folks, because they say, oh, some people assembled in Washington, D.C., and then the Proud Boys started fights, right? That's what they make you think occurred. There were hundreds of thousands of people. In fact, I saw one interview, a CNN reporter, very elitist, talking to the host in the studio. I'm out here among Trump supporters. I'm going to speak to just one of these people here. And what she meant was one of these toothless farmer ladies here that probably can't put two words together. And let's see what she has to say. So she walks over to this lady and says, excuse me, she's holding a sign, the Trump supporter, stop the steal. And so the CNN reporter on the field says, ma'am, what does your sign say? Right, very sarcastically. Yeah. And the woman goes and says, stop the steal. Well, what does that mean? And then the Trump supporter went on and schooled this lady in about 2 minutes on constitutional law. Mm-hmm. And she said, the Trump lady said, do you understand that your network doesn't certify the president? Are you aware of that? And the lady's going, well, Joe Biden won. The reporter became an apologist, a defender, a promoter of Biden. Instead of doing the news and getting information, because she was trapped, and the lady said, there's the Equal Protection Clause in the Constitution where every voter has to have the same right. And if one voting system is more partial to a particular candidate, that vote doesn't count by federal law. You're aware of that, aren't you? Well, he won the popular vote, and it was a beautiful example of the absurdity, the absolute absurdity of the fake news dealing. And she cuts back, the reporter in the field, to the host and the anchor. And the anchor goes, thank you for fact checking that Trump supporter, right? I said, these people are delusional. Mm-hmm. I just looked at that lady getting her butt handed to her, the reporter, and they're saying she was fact checking the Trump supporter. But this is what we have to deal with. And if Joe Biden does get in, and even the president doesn't know because he referred to it over the weekend, whoever wins, we'll see what happens. This is what we're going to have to put up with for a long time. So phenomenally successful Washington, D.C. Stop the Steal rally. And the narrative, the argument is simple, ladies and gentlemen, at 9:12 in the morning is very simple. 4 years of harassing not just the president, but all of us, doubting that he was properly and legitimately elected, and once every single mechanism to disable and destroy the president failed, they continued. And now they're continuing, saying he doesn't have 4 weeks to have a legitimate certification of the vote. We're not giving him that. He's not the president. And the funniest thing, we do a lot of work, as you know, Susie Gold and Mark. Mark's here. Hi, Mark. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Doing a lot better after watching the whole weekend shows with Maria Bartiromo and all that stuff come out. A lot better.
Yeah, we got some of that coming up. The president said, whoever wins, and we'll deal with it. But we have, 4 weeks to at least certify a legitimate. Oh no, national security. That if you look at MSNBC, even ABC, CBS, it's like the Soviets have taken out their missiles. They're pointed at Washington. China's pointing their missiles. The jihadis are going to parachute in. They're making it like there's going to be an imminent attack. And they're not just foolishly, but wrongly saying this is exactly the scenario in September 2001, just before the attack on the World Trade Center. I mean, I don't know where they get this stuff, but
they have an agenda. Their agenda is that Biden won, and they announced it after all, right? They said, and they accepted, and they all speak the same mantra. It's the same story.
Well, there were at least 500, maybe 1,000 people in Delray Beach that didn't buy it. They didn't buy it. Here's a couple of pictures. For those of you driving, you have to visualize what the picture looks like. But if you're fortunate enough to be watching at theunitedwest.org. We'll show you a couple of pictures. The first one is the shot looking down Atlantic Avenue. If you've never been to the beautiful town of Delray Beach by Boca Raton, we do a lot of work in Boca Raton. There's Atlantic Avenue. It goes from the east to the west, east and west. And this is looking to the ocean. So it's looking to the east as the group is walking from the pavilion on A1A, which is the Ocean Avenue, and then west up Atlantic Avenue. Look at that.
It looks like there's a lot of fighting and looting. What is
tearing buildings out. Describe that.
We don't do that. This is
describe that in a delicious way to our listeners.
Just deliciously. Look at the peaceful. This is a peaceful group of people that congregated in support of our president and our vice president. So American. Look at the flags. Look at the banners. It's just a togetherness. It's cohesive, and just people that are just very supportive.
What's that front banner? What does that thing say there?
Florida firefighters and police for Trump. And you know what? I was just joking about looting and stealing. We don't do that stuff. This is peaceful demonstration. This is to stop the steal, right? And also to support our president. And it was in conjunction with the Million March that was in D.C. and to show unity. And that we don't buy into. We want to make sure that this election process is done honestly with integrity, and that the election was following the rules of law, and that there wasn't any anything that changed the votes or that altered votes, and we want to make sure that our vote counted. So and we say that peacefully and just with honesty.
And we already did this in 2037 days. So everybody can wait a little bit while we sort this thing out. The next picture, what do you got there, Mark? Tell us about that picture.
This is Roger Stone up there addressing the audience. And the whole audience was roughly, is that Barry in the background right there?
No, I don't think Barry. No, Barry.
But the crowd was estimated anywhere between 500 and 1,000. So I'll say just average it out, 750, which is really huge for a Delray Beach crowd. And the event was just amazingly, well done with Roger Stone out there and marching down the street and everything. It was well done.
Yeah, and this picture here, again, for those of you who can't see, but if you're at home listening, go to theunitedwest.org. When you go there, click on donate, and then we should make them donate before they can watch. That would be pretty good. Like all these Wall Street Journal, all these things. You want to read this, you got to buy a subscription. Anyway, Roger Stone was one of the featured speakers. He's got a T-shirt, pretty cool, Stone Cold Truth, with his little trademark fedora there. He's such a
he's got great hats.
Such a showman. But he's good. He's very, very good. And then the next picture, we have the organizers of the last minute put together. But you know what? When you got these people on your team, Willie G and the Dixie Chicks, the Jexit Chicks, right there, Willie G on the left, holding the microphone with the ocean to his back. What a beautiful picture.
That is beautiful.
Imagine.
It was a gorgeous day. It was supposed to rain. It didn't rain.
In the north in New York, right?
I lived in New York.
Isn't it nice living down here?
It's wonderful. Look at that sky. You can't beat it.
It's beautiful. Willie G on the left addressing it. And there we have the Dixie Chicks. The Jexit Chicks. We have Karen and Sophia and Michelle who helped Willie and others. There were other organizations pull this thing off.
They pulled it off really quickly.
It was an amazing day.
It shows how passionate people are about this situation. And it shows that people that, you make a phone call, they make a phone call, others make phone calls. Before you know it, you have a huge crowd of people of like minds, not out there to destroy anything, just there to press a point and don't steal the election. That's the point.
And I love the local news coverage on the back.
Yeah, it was all over, right?
Well, they talked about the Trump pro-Trump rally, and then they talked about the Biden protest that countered that protest, and they featured that one guy on the corner with his one sign, holding up one sign.
Well, the guy's smart. The guy's smart because the media always looks for the other side. So the guy, it was supposedly a fireman in a fire hat, and he had Trump is a jerk or a clown or whatever. And he got quite a bit of coverage, that one guy. I happened to take West 2. We usually travel in West One, which is
I like West One a lot better.
Oh, I like West One also.
West One is a brand new Lincoln Black Label.
Oh, gorgeous.
Black Lives Matter Navigator.
Which
Black
is not
Label.
ours, by the way.
It's not ours. It's a dear friend of ours, Barry. And that's the car we use to travel a couple hundred miles.
It makes us feel very special.
And after a couple hundred miles, we take the United West, United Airlines. Basically, we don't have any stake in that, but
we're upgrading to United Airlines, Tom.
Yeah, right. And so we call that West One, his beautiful SUV. We call my 1998 Chevy van with 250,000 miles plus, which died over the weekend when I got it started.
With no seats.
With no seats. We call it West. It's got many seats. It has a floor. It doesn't discriminate. Oh, you put your butt here.
You have to pull up your seat.
Yeah, just everybody sit down.
Are there seatbelts in that thing?
No.
We won't talk about that.
Moving on. I took the West 2 and drove around, and I saw that idiot fireman. But from almost I-95 to the beach, which is a mile, bumper to bumper to bumper traffic. Out of the 100 cars, 99 were Trump cars, but there was the occasional Biden car. I pull up next to an idiot who has a sunroof with a Biden flag, and we happen to stop next to each other at a light. I said, "You got to be kidding me. You're for Biden?" He goes, "Yeah, man, I'm for Biden." He goes, "You're not?" I go, No, China owns Biden. No, blah, blah. Just nonsense, right? Just playing with the kid a little bit. But it was all Trump in Delray Beach. It was tremendous. But where is all this going? Everybody wants to know, is he going to lose? Is he going to win? Is he going to lose? Well, let's lay out reality. He's either going to win, Donald Trump, and be the next president, continuing in his administration, or he's going to lose. Mm-hmm. There's no tie.
It's going to be one or the other.
One or the other. How do we figure that out?
Well, I have an idea.
Depends on who you listen to.
I have an idea.
According to mainstream media, Biden already won, right? They already announced it. So, but then we have some really interesting discoveries and disclosures, which have to do with the legal ramifications of what's going on and the legal votes, and that there weren't observers that were allowed. Republican observers were kicked out, and that all of a sudden truckloads of ballots come, and they all are for Biden. Hey, how did that happen? So we have to first figure out what has been done legally, honestly, and with integrity, so that our vote truly does count. So there's some serious ramifications here in our laws to make sure that when we vote, that we are voting for the candidate that we believe we're voting for, and that our votes truly, there is an electoral college, and that there are votes that are part of this process and not just decided by the media. So there's some serious questions here before we can disclose who the president is.
And we will answer them.
My solution's a lot simpler, Tom.
What?
Ready?
The Kraken. Release the Kraken.
Release the Kraken. Well, you're listening.
The Kraken. Release the Kraken.
The Kraken. Well, I was way out
Sidney Powell.
We're gonna put the pieces together. Hang with us at 9:23 in the morning. Tom Trento, your host. Susie Gold here. MATA. What does that mean, Susie?
Make America think again. Our work will never be complete because we've got to constantly be thinking. We've got to stay ahead. We need to be educated and not just listen blindly and just follow because this is what we're told. But we need to think for ourselves and form our own conclusions.
And one way of doing that is going right to a very good conservative publication, Epoch Times. We're going to put it up on our monitor, on your TV screen. And it takes the mess that's out there right now. There's the average American. What do you think the average American? They're dealing with the pandemic and Thanksgiving, and they work, on an assembly line, or they're a truck driver, and they just want to make money and take care of their family. Are they? Where are they? Whether they're a Biden voter or a Trump voter, where's their thinking on this whole thing?
I think that the average person, like you said, just wants to put food on the table, and they just go to work. They'll listen to music. I don't think a lot of people really pay attention that much to the news. There are those, a segment of the population that does. There are those that will never listen to the news because they don't want that negativity in their life, and they want to listen to music and they want to enjoy their lives. So I think a lot are really distancing themselves from this because, to tell you the truth, it's really negative. You can get really depressed. In fact, this morning I was listening on my way in because I want to be abreast of the news because I'm on this show. I need to know something, right? So I'm listening, and you know what? They have a lot of commercials for psychologists and psychiatrists that are called, because people can really are getting very depressed over this. We need direction. We need to know what's going on with what is the focus of our country, and it couldn't be further from distance. It's either dark from go to socialism, which is all the way to the left, or you have those that are for freedom and for capitalism and free way of life. Like, it couldn't be furthest apart from both candidates. And I don't even mean Biden. I mean a Harris candidacy. And they're already talking about who they're going to throw in if that truly is right. What occurs.
Yeah, my solution is watch football on Saturday. Watch football on Sunday.
They want to enjoy life.
When I caught up on, but Sunday, woke me up, and I go, okay, good. Now we got some good news coming from Maria Bartiromo and the Fox Business, and the Epic Times thing was great, Tom.
Yeah, well, Epic Times right now. Again, if you're watching, we're going to put up the front page of today's Epic Times, and for those Americans, those human beings not involved in this thing every minute, it's a beautiful graphic that establishes the critical moment we are at in the history of the country, because it lists 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 states that are still in play. People don't realize this. They listen to the news and, they're hearing, oh, Biden, he's doing this, President Biden. There's 6 states still issuing legal challenges, whether local on a state level or a federal level, or the constitutional level is the federal level. And by way of quick review, Wisconsin voters filed lawsuits to exclude over 792,000 votes in Wisconsin, which could change the nature of the win there. This is a lawsuit in play. In Michigan, judge denies a request for an audit in the election fraud lawsuit. That's a district court judge. It's going to go higher than that. Michigan is not fully determined yet, because if you have a lawsuit, you can't certify your state with a pending lawsuit. And here is the graphic on screen now. Pennsylvania, Trump campaign files amended complaint in Pennsylvania lawsuit. They filed several complaints, got kicked back. They amended it. Probably going to get rejected at the district court level, which is in cahoots with the local government in Philadelphia. Then it's going to go to an appellate court, then to the Supreme Court. Pennsylvania is in play. Georgia Secretary of State disputes Trump's signature check claim. Georgia right now is in a hand-tallied vote recount. Georgia's still in play, and there will be lawsuits there. Nevada, Stop the Steal rally calls for election integrity. I told you earlier that a lawsuit is being filed at 9 a.m. Nevada time, 12 o'clock Florida time today, and I have the lawsuit with me before it's even filed because the law firm agreed to release it to me. So Nevada is going to be in litigation, and Arizona, Biden is holding a lead there. Even after some outlets said Arizona's a win, there's lawsuits going on in Arizona. So we have 6 states where there are legal challenges. You can't certify an election when you have a legal challenge, a legitimate dispute legally going on in your state. What's going on, folks?
And what does that mean? Okay. You think about it. If you can't certify your election, that means you cannot send your electors to Congress on the 12th. And if they keep getting held up, and these are ballots, these aren't some flim flam, airy-fairy lawsuits where a judge can just throw them out. No, these are serious voter fraud charges that Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani were talking about not just hundreds of thousands of votes, but millions of votes. And if it doesn't get certified by Congress, they say, okay, we're sending it to Congress to determine the election.
And we've had Peter Feynman and others, Don Brown, others, talking about the various problems with some of the software, Dominion, Symtech, and some other systems. We haven't even gotten into that yet. These are legitimate lawsuits dealing with irregularities. And but we have
fraud. It's not irregularities; they're fraud. It's absolute fraud.
You're using the word irregularity.
Yeah,
but if you scroll down a little bit, let's go to the Senate and House makeup. And this is part of the rationale that drives people crazy. And I want everybody to listen very carefully. 9:30 in the morning, WNN 1470. You're listening to me, Tom Trento, my host.
You're the host.
Co-host.
You're the host.
You're the co-host. The super spreader, Susie Gold here next to me.
The super spreader. I kind of like that.
Yeah, super spreader. Yeah. And I'm fighting through, but I feel pretty good actually. But if you look here on the right-hand side of the screen, if not, we'll describe it. We have right now Democrats. There's a senatorial result. As of today, we have Georgia, 2 senatorial seats in the balance. We're going to be focusing our Kraken machine at Georgia in the very near future. Democrats have 48 seats in the Senate. Republicans have 50. If the Republicans can win the 2 Georgia seats, 52-48, that's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
What happens the other way around?
Then they have a majority, and that's a problem.
Well, they got 2 to 48 is 50.
So that would be equal.
And in case of a tie, who's the referee?
Kamala
Harris.
That's right.
The vice president breaks a tie in the U.S. Senate. We're dead.
Mm-hmm.
We're dead if Georgia, the 2 senatorial seats between Kelly Loeffler and Raphael Warnock, that's the one race, and John Ossoff and David Perdue, the other race. If the Republicans lose, we're in serious trouble. If we win, we could block the nefarious deeds, except for executive orders of the Biden administration, if they get in. On the House side,
yeah, this is good.
Yeah, 219 Democrats, 205 Republicans.
It's now up to 11, Tom.
211. All right,
we're up to 209 Republicans and 200 and 15 Democrats, because we picked up 11 seats.
We flipped seats, yeah.
Now here's the good news. We just, with Jim Jordan coming on this weekend, 15 congressmen didn't want Nancy Pelosi in office last time. If you get half of those people to flip to say, no, we still don't want her in here because she's worse than she was last time, Nancy Pelosi is not Speaker of the House.
Not going to be the Speaker of the House.
That's good news.
She can go eat ice cream on one of her multi-million-dollar mansions. But the political takeaway from this is that there was not a blue wave. 14 points here. Nationally, 20 points. There was a red wave in Congress and in the Senate. Now, did people just go in and vote for Republican senators and congressmen and not vote for the president?
Well, yeah, because the Republican Party was so active in help reconstructing this country that they're the ones that the people were looking to change the country. Not.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense that, particularly when you got 73 million people voting, that people just went in and voted only for Republican senators and congressmen and didn't vote for the president. So that's a very suspicious clue.
Well, then there's also the other ballots that where they only voted for president and they didn't vote for any other position.
95,000 that they recorded to 908. Really?
All right. Well, I think it's time for a voice of reason. And
being run of the point about the Senate, let's not forget about the other Republican up in Michigan who got hosed on this election too. If this election thing goes the right way, now we have 51. We have another senator up there.
Don't forget John James, the black guy.
He's great. Guy. He's great.
Tremendous Uncle Tom, according to tremendous Uncle Tom, according to the left. John James, phenomenal conservative Republican. All right, 9:34 in the morning. We need a voice of reason. We're gonna play a little tape on a right-wing nutcase fanatic, a lunatic conspiracy theorist. Before I tell you her name, she was the youngest U.S. attorney ever. She graduated from college, then law school, began her career as the youngest U.S. state attorney. She grew up in North Carolina. Did a couple of things in her legal career. She was an assistant U.S. state's attorney for the Western and Northern District of Texas and the Eastern District of Virginia. Very critical states. She handled civil, criminal work. She was appointed to the appellate section chief for the Western and then Northern District of Texas. So she rose as an attorney. She made her mark, and then the states elevated her to more substantial positions through the years. In 1993, she established her own law firm in Dallas and practiced federal appellate practice in the 2nd, 4th, 5th, 9th, 10th, and 11th federal circuits. I think we have 11 or 12. So she was qualified to litigate in half of the federal circuits. That's amazing. That means you have to know the law of various states and how it relates to federal law. And with her firm, she served as head counsel in more than 500 appeals to the Fifth Circuit courts, resulting in more than 180 published opinions at a 70% success rate. She's a fellow in the American Academy of Appellate Lawyers. So this person is an absolute legal, brilliant superstar. But she's being presented now as a conspiracy theorist and a nutcase and all of that.
Well, let's not forget about General Flynn.
And she took a little case about a year ago to help a guy she saw getting run over by the deep state in the United States. And she said that General Flynn thing doesn't make sense. And she represents General Flynn.
That's right.
And basically smashed the whole narrative of the FBI setting the guy up vis-a-vis Jim Comey saying we're setting him up because the Trump administration is too stupid. So she took that case, and that thing is going to get thrown out of court because of her legal work, and then he will be pardoned by the president. So now she said, you know what? I got to take a look at this election stuff. So here's a little interview. Who's she with on this interview?
Yeah, this is the last few minutes of the Lou Dobbs show.
Lou Dobbs on Fox. Listen to Sidney Powell.
In the effort against him. Do you concur?
Oh, absolutely. And it's been organized and conducted with the help of Silicon Valley people, the big tech companies, the social media companies, and even the media companies. And I'm going to release the Kraken.
Well, good, because this is an extraordinary.
Lou Dobbs, do you know what that means?
Such a dangerous moment in our history. I really am very concerned for the country. I am very concerned for all Americans, and I have a feeling that most Democrats are first Americans and not Democrats. They have to be as alarmed as anyone.
Shut up.
Cindy, we're glad that you are.
Release the Kraken.
Okay, so that's where
we need it really soon. A decision is going to be made by mid-December.
Well, she says there's going to be some really earth-shaking evidence coming out on this week because
that's what I'm saying. It needs to be done really soon. We have until mid-December for the electoral vote.
In summary, what she was talking about was massive amounts with the software, the Dominion software that's run by that's controlled and run by the Venezuelan government, that is real time looking at our votes She has hard evidence that they're real time looking at our votes during the night election. That's the reason they shut down the election, and only the swing states. They shut down the county election so they knew how many votes they actually needed to print up. And at Dominion Software, I've been doing a lot of research, a lot looking at this as well as they have been. And it is such a corrupt system. They've used it before in other foreign governments to overturn elections. And if they have the evidence, what I think that they have, which I've heard of from the backdoor channels, is this is just going to be, mind blowing.
All right. Well, here now we're going to get into a conspiracy theory, but I think it's one. Any investigation by anyone who's a conservative is immediately and automatically branded as a conspiracy theory. We've been dealing with this for how many years? For a long time. But this conspiracy theory, and I'm saying that sarcastically.
You mean like how the Muslim Brotherhood was a conspiracy theory?
That's one of them. This one may have amazing legs, and I'm going to lay out some of the pieces. We're gonna do an investigation this week to put the pieces together. And Mark, I'll send you a picture that I just got. And here we are. Susie, tell them what time it is and all that stuff.
It's 9:40. It's November 16th. It's Monday morning. And Tom has a cold and he's going to give it to, he's the spreader. He's breathing all over the place here.
This is work.
And coughing and no, actually you're not coughing.
No,
you're pretty good. You're doing good. Blaming me for giving you the cold, but meanwhile you got your very own, so don't give me credit for it. You got your own unique blend.
Yes, that's right. Custom made. All right, it's 9:41. Tom Truntle with Susie Gold, J. Mark Campbell here, and our Southeast Mary's taking a little break right now, but not for long, because we are headed to Georgia. We're working on getting a radio stay. I just texted it to you. Maybe I texted it to somebody else.
Yes, I think you did.
Yeah, I did, because I got a bunch of people texting me.
It's on the group.
Somebody's making release the Kraken t-shirts. So put that up. Here's the air quotes conspiracy theory. I'm going to lay out some facts.
But it's not a conspiracy theory.
No, it's not a conspiracy theory.
They're going to call it a conspiracy.
It's going to be contextualized by the left as a conspiracy theory because it includes an investigation into the Dominion Software System and Corporation. Does a former Dominion Voter Systems VP and current patent holder have ties to the terrorist group known as Antifa?
The plot
That's
thickens.
the question. So Dominion Software is in, I think, 26 states. It's managing about 78 million votes in the United States in various states.
You sent me the Kraken stuff again.
By was the Kraken stuff? A Kraken. We're going to be living Kraken. All right. This is the Dominion stuff right here as we're going along. That's you right there, Mark. And there we go. Okay. I'm doing 5 things at once here. All right, so we're back to at 9:43. Dominion means to have domain over or to control.
Mm-hmm.
Nice name.
That's a perfect
for a software. We're controlling the situation. Dominion. All kinds of questionable involvement with foreign governments, and there is involvement with foreign governments. It's questionable whether or not they're legitimate, particularly in light of an executive order on September 12th that the president gave, saying we need to make sure there's no foreign interference vis-a-vis the fake investigations of the president in 2016 of Russian collusion. He has an EO September 12th of this year saying, at the end of the day, we got to make sure there are no other foreign countries, any foreign countries involved. So we need to look deeply into Dominion. And the fact here is that one of the Dominion executives, now they've scrubbed this guy and moved him around. His name is Dr. Eric Coomer. Dr. Eric Coomer, Coomer. He is with Dominion. He is a shareholder. He holds, this is factual information, he holds patents for software systems for Dominion and other software systems utilized around the world. They're not only in the U.S., they're in a variety of countries. And he is an interesting individual. In this article we're looking at, an investigator, Joe Oltmann, Oltmann, did a very deep dive into Dr. Eric Coomer. He holds a doctorate, I think, out of Berkeley in nuclear physics. He's a brilliant guy. Joe Oltmann, Oltmann, did an investigation into Eric Coomer and started publishing the results of his investigation on Twitter. Guess what happened to Joe Oltmann?
He got blacklisted.
He's no longer on Twitter. They absolutely banned him, like Laura Loomer, from Twitter. It's completely banned. And he's banned because he started posting the Facebook rants of Eric Coomer. And I'm gonna read one of them to you. This is Eric Coomer on July 21st, 2016. If you're planning to vote, Eric Coomer, who is an executive with Dominion, who holds patents and is a shareholder with Dominion, July 21st, 2016, wrote rant and Facebook friend open call. If you are planning, this is before the election of 2016, Eric Coomer, a guy who manages the voting system in the United States of America today, the most dominant one, he wrote in 2016, if you are planning to vote for that autocratic, narcissistic, fascist, asshat, blowhard, and Christian jihadist VP, unfriend me now. No, I'm not joking. I'm all for reasoned political discourse and healthy debate. I'm looking for you, and he names a few people. I disagree with the three of you on many philosophical grounds, but respect your opinions. Only an absolute effing idiot could ever vote for that windbag, F-tard, fascist, racist, F, all in caps. No BS. I don't give a damn if you're a friend, family, or random acquaintance. Pull the lever, mark an oval, touch a screen for that carnival barker. Unfriend me now. And there's more. Let me stop there.
Wow.
This is the guy who's one of the ones controlling the software that just said Joe Biden.
That should be
wins.
Impartial,
Yeah,
neutral.
I don't see anything wrong with that, Tom.
I have no desire whatsoever to interact with you. You are beyond hope, beyond reason. You are controlled by fear, reaction, and BS. Get your SH together. Oh, if that doesn't persuade you, F you in caps. Seriously, this effing ass clown stands against everything that makes this country awesome. You want in on that? You deserve nothing but contempt.
Yeah, he sounds like a perfect choice for
Wow.
And then
A lot of emotion
Then
there.
he concludes and says, but these opinions are rational and completely my own. They're based in reason and highly credible, though they are not necessarily the thoughts of my employer, though if not, I should probably find another job. Who wants to work for complete morons? None of my personal opinions affect my professional conduct or attitudes. I'm nonpartisan. I am not, however, willing to stand by and watch this great country be taken over by fascists without saying or screaming anything.
Well, you think about it this way, Tom, and if you believe what this guy does, that Trump is Hitler and the whole right-wing the whole Republican Party are fascist, there's nothing that everything seems legal. Everything seems rational. Any means necessary is their motto. And looking at it from their point of view, if I thought Trump was Hitler, I mean, really, truly believe it like this guy does, I would do anything possible to get rid of him. But,
if that's your presupposition,
right.
This guy makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right, well, listen to this. Listen to this. And look, it's 9:49 in the morning. Tom Trent,
wow, the time goes so fast.
Listen, I'm talking now to every Democrat who voted for Joe Biden. Just, you hate Trump and all that.
You get that.
Just take all that stuff away. Put on your moral pair of glasses to look at, and your logical pair of glasses. Take a look at what we're revealing here, and it's starting to get out in the public domain. You're not going to see this on CNN. You're not going to see it on any of those stations. This is devastating to their narrative that one of the stakeholders of Dominion hates
Lowe's.
to an obsessive, compulsive, irrational degree, President Trump. But he says none of this will affect anything I do.
Really?
And he has gone on record saying that his systems can be tampered with. They provide security updates regularly, and we'll show you the videotape.
And those are not software updates; those are just security updates, which that allows it to go through the certification process as clean.
Now, have I presented enough evidence to the jury here to at least lay out an overview of this individual, Dr. Eric Coomer, in his own words?
Yes.
Yes, you have.
Okay.
Yeah, very clearly stated.
Now let's take a look at what Dr. Eric Coomer says about, you mentioned fascist and all that, Mark, about Antifa. On June 2nd of this year, he writes, in case you didn't know, he said, Antifa has made a statement. And he goes on to, and I'll summarize the statement. He goes on to endorse Antifa's position in wanting the best for America. Antifa's statement to all media, public statement from Antifa in response to the threats issued by the United States President Donald Trump. This is June 2nd of this year. Let's be perfectly clear, Antifa says. Antifa isn't an organization. There's no memberships, no meetings, no dues, no rules, no leaders, no structures. Literally an idea and nothing more. We've heard Clapper and Brennan say the same thing.
Well, Biden did too. He said it's just an idea.
Biden said, even the claim of this author that represent Antifa, the one who's making the statement, is nothing more. There is no governing body, no trademark, no owner, no dispute, nothing. Antifa is a neologism. Neologism. Anybody know what that means? That's a
new logo. A new logo.
New logism is word, a new word. Antifa is a new word constructed from a contraction of the phrase anti-fascist. Antifa. Truth is, there's no such thing as being an anti-fascist. Either you're a decent human being with a conscience, or you're a fascist. So
back to the Hitler analogy. Yep.
And the statement goes on to make all the ridiculous Antifa.
Go with clubs and destroy private property.
And Eric Coomer puts this out and says basically, here's Antifa in their own words. They are an ideology. They're against fascism. And that's just the situation. Trump, keep your hands off of Antifa. They're doing good work. That's the essence of the endorsement that Eric Coomer gave. So he endorses the concept of the good work of Antifa. He has established himself as a first-class maniac hating Trump, and he holds the keys to the Dominion software. Does anybody think that needs to be looked into, really? Or are we crazy?
Let's look. What about the Nevada lawsuit before we close? We got about 5 minutes.
The Nevada lawsuit is absolutely fascinating. I was waiting to get a call to see if he can come on right now, but he'll come on tomorrow. Craig Mueller, he's an attorney, and I had long talks with these guys over the weekend. They have found, and now we're switching gears from the nutcase Dr. Eric Coomer, who's a brilliant guy, by the way, to the situation in one county, the main county where most of the votes are in Nevada, Clark County. And the argument, simply stated, is that the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution, which protects, as it relates to voting, every voter having the equal opportunity to vote legally, has been violated on a variety of levels in Clark County. And because the officials destroyed the paper evidence, there's no way to reconstruct the vote. They're not calling for a revote, this lawsuit. They are calling for a new vote for that one county, a complete new vote. And I'll read from the lawsuit, which hasn't even been filed yet. And it has Craig Mueller as an individual and plaintiffs against Barbara Sagaski, the Secretary of State, Joe Gloria, Registrar of Votes, and a bunch of rows. This must be set for a hearing not later than 3 days after it's filed because of the urgency. And it says that we're looking for declaratory relief pursuant to, he cites all the stuff. The active registrar of voters sending unsolicited ballots to both active and inactive lists resulted in an overflooding of precincts with ballots. This act satisfies the requirements or any other clause in the statute and is supported by case law with regards to flooding precincts. You can't flood a precinct with excess ballots according to Nevada law. The Nevada state legislature delayed changes to the voting scheme, whereby making it impossible for the voter registrar to comply with federal mandates, resulting in a decision to send mail-in ballots to active and large numbers of inactive voters. Approximately 1/3 of votes coming from the ballots sent to the inactive voting list do not reside at the addresses stated.
1/3?
1/3. This is a forensic analysis done by the law firm. The results in ballots being sent with voting districts of persons no longer qualified to vote on that elector, as they do not reside in that voting district. Persons voting in districts to which they have no interest wrongfully flood the precinct with votes that do not qualify to vote for those electors. The result is the flooding of precincts with ballots of persons who no longer reside in the district to which their ballot was printed and specified as certain offices. Now, this is an argument that's substantive on its merits. It's substantive on law in Nevada. It's substantive on federal law. What do you think the average Democrat or the average news person on the left thinks about this case?
Oh, you're just trying to steal the election.
Yeah, it's like sore losers.
But here's the big point on this whole thing is they can't verify it. They can't have an audit or a recount because that is core of any state law, of all state law, that you have to be able to verify the vote. If you can't verify it, then the vote is on its face invalid. And therefore, the remedy is you got to throw out the vote, or you have to redo the vote.
Well, it goes on and on and on, and we'll get into it tomorrow. When you do the universal mail-in vote, you have to sign the envelope.
Right.
You sign your name over the seal. Well, they have a machine in Nevada called the Gillis machine that attempts to use, I'm reading from the lawsuit, artificial intelligence to match the signature on the envelope with that of the voter from other sources, such as their license.
Right.
Although the Gillis machine requires signature scan at a minimum of 200 DPI.
That's key.
Yeah. The registrar is ignoring the minimum Department of Motor Vehicle signatures, and they scanned it at the voter machines less than 200 DPI.
Right. It's very blurry.
That's a violation of law. So if it's blurry, the machine's going to kick it out. Or as I heard today, in some areas, there's eyewitness testimony. I think this is in Michigan, where there were 50 Joe Biden, absentee ballots, and they just kept feeding them back into the machine to get a 5-10 times, get a 500 count. But in Nevada, and we'll get the guys here tomorrow, the lawyers. There is a lawsuit, and we're breaking it right here on our show, Susie Gold. What do you think?
Yeah, wow. You got to tune in tomorrow because then there'll be a follow-up.
Where'd the crazy hour go?
I know. Where'd it go? But you know what? There's so much, and I'm so glad that you relayed.
We're done. We're done. We're out of here.
Bye.
All right, goodbye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
That was really good.
A lot.